I'd like to introduce to you my guests. This is Dan Cohen. Dan Cohen is the founder of a program called Music and Memory. And Music and Memory is what this wonderful documentary is about. The documentary is called Alive Inside, and we have also with us Michael Rossato-Bennett to enliven our conversation. So welcome.
Great.
Welcome, both of you. I'd like to start by talking with Dan a little bit and find out what was the genesis of this program? How did you get this whole thing started?
So I'm a social worker, but I have actually a career in technology companies. And in 2006 on the radio, a journalist was talking about how iPods are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. And I thought, well, young people all have them, many of us older adults. But if you're in a nursing home, it just didn't seem to be a true statement. And so I Googled iPods in nursing homes. And even though there's 16,000 nursing homes in the US, I couldn't find one that was providing people's own music to the residents of these homes. And so I called up a local home. I live on Long Island, a 600-bed county facility. And I said, I know music's already your #1 recreational activity, but can we see if there's any added value if we were to totally personalize the music for them? And they said, sure. And I came in with my laptop and some iPods, and it was just an instant and definitive hit.
Wonderful. Now, did you have any relationship with the nursing home previously? Did you just call them out?
Just call
out
them
of the blue, huh?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So, and what happened?
So I would come in every couple of weeks. I wouldn't just say, oh, here's the music you said, or pretty much the artist that you said, because so much of the music that I was going to give them I knew would be sort of so-so music. We're all used to listening to so-so music. On the radio, how often do you sort of go from station to station trying to figure that out? And that's why we're all very specific. We can listen to whatever we want to, however long we want to. And so I hone the list over time. So every couple of weeks I come back and get rid of the so-so music so that after 2 or 3 months, every song of the 100, 200, 300 song playlist was a song that resonated with them, either got them more upbeat or helped calm them down if they were agitated.
Wow. So it really is personalized to quite a serious degree.
It's totally personalized. I mean, there's already plenty of music that's sort of by genre. Oh, they're 83, give them big band. Well,
yeah.
No, just that to all the Googlers, if anybody thinks of their favorite genre of music, if you were to say your genre of music and then have somebody else guess your favorite musicians or songs, you know, they're not going to be able to do that. And so right now, best practice is giving people music they don't really necessarily love. And so we're changing that by using the same digital music culling and honing that we all have access to. We kind of forget about our elders, thinking, oh, they never liked computers and stuff. They won't like this stuff with the music because it involves devices. And our approach is just tell us what you like. We'll figure out what you like, and here it is, and we'll take care of the tech.
That's a really good point. The technology is fearsome for some people. And yet here you are with your little device, your little iPod, and it turns into a source of joy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's exciting. So where did you go from there? I understand now you've got this wonderful program that's in many nursing homes. Tell us about that.
So the program is now running in every state in the US and a number of other countries in 2,800 facilities, nursing homes, assisted living facilities, hospitals, hospices, home care programs, and adult day programs. It's wherever elders are being served and for elders at home, because we have materials for people who are at home to help them do this themselves. And so in 15 states, it's become a public policy to have music and memory, that every person in nursing homes should have their own music. And so our goal is to scale this so every state has that and everybody has access.
That's wonderful. Now, you talked about other countries. Tell me a bit about that, if you would.
Sure. When the Henry video went viral, it just fantastically just hit the right chord, so to speak. I think it hit the right chord because people are very frustrated that there is nothing you can do about Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a terminal disease. And the, what was the question again?
The other countries.
The other countries, I'm sorry. So when it went viral, I got feedback from emails from all over the world. And so many people said, I want to get this going here. So it's now running in Australia and South Africa and Israel and Holland and the UK and Denmark and many other countries are interested as well.
That is so exciting. You must be really gratified to have that.
It's great. But the challenge is out of every 100 persons in a nursing home, 98 of them are sitting idle right now.
Oh.
So that's sort of the fact that time and motion studies show that 90% of the people in nursing homes are actually idle, and half the people in homes never ever get a visitor. So if you're in a nursing home, or you have a relative that's in a nursing home, and there's no family visiting you, no friends, you're kind of waiting for your next med or next meal, it's kind of a recipe for decline. So we really want to bring the community back into facilities. We want to connect our elders, whether they're in a healthcare setting or they're at home with their own music.
So you may or may not know, but Google has a very strong volunteer policy, and where they give us the opportunity to volunteer on our own terms, basically. If I find a nonprofit that I'd like to do some work for, I can do that, and Google will actually subsidize my time as well as make a donation. So talk to me about how volunteers fit into all of this.
So volunteers are really important. I mean, every day we're getting people from around the country, and I didn't mention Canada, which has a very large implementation of music and memory. They can get involved in visiting the nursing home or visiting a hospice or a hospital and helping them set up their iTunes library. They can help them get donations from the community of devices or money to buy the music. They can help. The best thing is when they really go one-to-one and sit with individuals who are, again, they're sitting alone, and to have that kind of one-to-one time. We have students at universities and high schools that go in all over the US, and they're spending that time with people, which is really valuable. And it's not only great for the person who is elder, it turns out it's great for the youth as well, that they feel, wow, they got to light up this person, and this is the best thing I've done. You know, that really gives them value and helps build their confidence. And so it's a big win. So working very hard. We have hundreds of high schools and colleges that are involved. In Wisconsin, we have a special program where we're connecting 37 high schools and colleges with 37 nursing homes as a template for the nation, and we're going to be rolling that out. It already is happening. We're sort of nursing homes and schools don't really have protocols for this kind of stuff. Everybody's sort of doing their own thing, and so we're really finalizing those protocols.
That's great, and then that'll be distributed.
And then
to
it'll be distributed. All the other states, we have public policy. We've made this public policy. They're just going to layer it in.
That's fantastic.
And that's how we'll get tens of thousands of schools and millions of students involved.
So do you find the students are like from all walks of life, so to speak, different disciplines, different reasons they're attracted to the program?
Yes, I mean, sometimes it's people who have a family member who maybe currently has Alzheimer's or is in a nursing home or has other physical issues. Or it could be just somebody that wants to help out. I mean, it's sort of a wide range of things, I think, that draw people to it. Or somebody has a relative who has passed and they'd like to give, I wish I had this for my grandma or my grandpa, and want to get in and do something around this.
That is so wonderful. So not to leave you out, Michael, what I'd like to do is have you talk a little bit about how the film came to be and where was that happening in your process. And we'll switch over to Michael a little bit.
Right. So I'm a filmmaker, and I'd made a series of short films for a nonprofit. And so a friend of mine worked at the nonprofit, and she called me up and she said, this nonprofit was this was back before, I think you were only in like a couple of nursing homes at the time, maybe 3 or 4, right?
Have to look back and see how many.
Can't remember. I think it was like in about 3 or 4, and so we
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Okay, 7 or 8.
One's listed on the bottom of the movie.
Cool.
Okay. So anyway, so I was just given a job to go and shoot something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever been in a large public nursing home, but it is, for somebody that's never been in a place like that, it's really overwhelming. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like entering, sometimes, not all, but many, are like entering like a layer of Dante's Inferno, if you will. I mean, I remember the first day I came there and I walked through this sort of gauntlet of about 100 people sitting against a wall in wheelchairs like this, and one guy was going like this, and you know, I just wanted to run. And it was very, very sad, and something like, what's the statistic? 50% of nursing home residents don't get any visitors, and some of them are there for like 10 years. So it's a place of loneliness often. You know, there are some beautiful facilities, and actually, Music and Memory has done a great job of kind of giving people in nursing homes a tool so that they can connect instead of just sort of be in a very challenged caregiving role. Anyway, I mean, Henry is really the spark of this whole story. Henry was sort of put in front of me, and I literally had no idea what to expect. And you know, Dan had some music for him. I think it was Cab Calloway and some gospel music. And I watched this man who a few minutes before had been like this, you know. And I watched with the music on him. I watched like his entire like being, like wake up. Like it was like somebody plugged him in, you know, and like something like sprang alive inside of him. And I think we all know that feeling, right? Like that just like when we're like on fire and alive and just, you know, and it freaked me out in a way. I mean, I started to cry. I had like tears in my eyes because, you know, this was a person who was gone, and then we just gave him music, and it went deep into his mind and into his heart and his memory and his body and his movement and everything, and he came alive, right? And I think that all of us, like deep down inside, like we want to live. We want to live sometimes more than we're given the chance to live. You know, I think that this is really like, that's why I decided I wanted to make this film, because you know, if we could bring this kind of life to these people, right? And then, I mean, it brought so much life to me. And I don't know if you've seen the video with Henry.
Yes,
like,
I have.
You have, okay. You know, like the man that came out of that shell, like, was a poet. And he had a beautiful voice, and he had a whole life, and I got to feel it, you know. And this is one of the most amazing things that this work has taught me, is like that people with dementia actually have something to teach us. You know, we think of them, you know, like our whole sort of healthcare dynamic is doing 2 or doing 4. You know, especially with people with dementia, the idea that we could do with them is a totally novel idea. And that's what music gives you the possibility to do. It gives you the possibility to connect on a very human, emotional, and primal level with another human being. I told you a story a little bit earlier about last week. I was in a nursing home, actually a music and memory facility down in North Carolina. And there was this woman, full on dementia. And we gave her music, and she started singing. It was this Italian song, like by Jay and the Americans, called Casa something or other. Does anybody know? She started singing, and I started singing with her. And she just looked into my eyes, and she knew that she didn't really know me. Like, she knew I wasn't part of her life, but her eyes just poured into me, and we sang together. And it was, I swear to God, I felt like I was in a love story.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I felt like I was in a love story, and I have never had that experience. I couldn't have that with you. You know, I mean, you know, the thing about these minds is that they've lost so much. But what's left is is basically our deepest emotional being. Some scientists call it the embodied mind. It's what we've inherited from dogs and whales, and you know, like our bodies, our emotions are pretty much the same as like the emotions of dogs and other animals. That's why we can identify with them so much. That's why you know, you love your dog, right?
I don't have one.
You don't
yes,
have one?
I do.
You have a dog?
Yeah.
You love your dog.
Sure.
Because they are so pure, and they touch like a really pure and elemental place in you. And this is really what I love about this whole journey, is what there is to learn about ourselves and each other, and about the way we can connect with each other.
Yeah.
you know. And so, I mean, that's what happened with the film. Like,
Yeah,
like
it
why
sounds
did
like
a
it,
film
yeah.
about nursing homes and dementia and aging, why did that win Sundance? Why did the Henry clip go viral?
Yeah.
Because there's something in these people, you know, that literally I'd never seen before in my life. And I really don't think we as a culture even have a word for it. There's some kind of a thing that these people have to teach us.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what fascinated me and why I kept going for 3 years.
Yeah, your passion really shows in the film, and I hope all of you who are getting DVDs of this film will take a chance to watch it, and you'll find it really, really life-affirming and just so pleasurable to see what is possible.
I call it the only good news film ever made about dementia.
Oh my gosh,
You know.
that's very apt. So tell me a little bit about the Sundance experience. How did that happen?
Oh my God. That was incredible. Like, you got to understand, like, I literally didn't think anybody would want to see this film.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, it's about our culture isn't that interested in aging. It's certainly not interested. We take our elders that are too much trouble to take care of, and we put them away, basically. We put them out of sight and out of mind. You know, here we are at Google, the absolute ground zero for productive young people, right? You know, there's no, you know, old people here. So, I mean, I'm sure there are, actually. There's me.
You'd be
Wait, did I hear
surprised.
anything?
It's true.
So, yeah, you know, so anyway, I didn't think anybody would see it, and I didn't even put it in. I didn't submit to Sundance because I was so broke from making the film that I said to my wife, "It's $100. They're never going to want to see this film because it's about old people, and they only want films about young people and guns." You know, that was my.
Whoa.
Anyway, but my wife made me do it, and it's a long story about it. I literally got it into the mailbox at literally the last possible minute. I mean, literally the doors were shutting at the 34th Street post office when I dove through them.
Wow.
And I put it in. And then Sundance called and said that, like, you know, 12,000 films had been submitted, and they picked 16 for competition, and one was ours.
Whoa.
And that was literally the most amazing moment of my life. And then when we won the audience award, that was just beyond belief. And it's allowed so much to happen. It's brought international attention to Dan and his work.
Wonderful.
You know, it's if you don't know how many people have come up to both of us and said, you know, "Oh my God, if only I'd thought about this. You know, I'm a composer, and my mom plays violin, and if only I'd thought to bring her music."
Mm.
And like when we started this, nobody thought, "Wow, let's give people who are dying their music. Oh, let's give people who have dementia their music." Literally, like, it just didn't hit their brains.
Yeah.
And now, like, I think that honestly in the culture that there's been a shift, and we had some small part to play in that like, people now, it's common human knowledge, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to know what your audience thinks, but I think that it's common human knowledge now that, wait, music is important. It can bring back memories in people with dementia. It holds a place in us that we should investigate.
Yeah.
Do you think people know that now?
Oh yeah, much more. I mean, so, you know,
Right.
the Henry video, which is past 13 million views now, that was hugely helpful. The film itself, again, you know, many people have seen it, but the media coverage has been so generous around all of this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they don't have good news stories to tell. So, oh, here's some good news about old people who are dying with dementia or old people in nursing homes. And so I would like to say that when it comes to Thanksgiving time and everybody's around the table, somebody at that table is going to say about their grandma who's got dementia, "Oh, well, who's, you know, setting up her playlist? Who's getting her music?"
Uh-huh.
So it's just that common. But still building into sort of, so we don't have to wait for somebody to sort of have the light sort of turn on. So we're getting there. It's still a process.
Right.
Yeah.
And about that idea. So one of my dreams was, a little population illustration here. Like, this is the population pyramid of human age in human history. Over the last 400,000 years, we've had very few elders on top and lots of young people on the bottom. Okay?
Sure.
Right now, it looks like this. In Japan, it looks like this. By about 2050, it's going to look like this. Okay? This is something absolutely new in human history. A one-to-one relationship between the very young and the very old. This is earth-shattering in terms of how it will affect our culture, how it will affect our government. This is big stuff. And right now, we have a generation of young people who they're not raised with the old. Like, for most of human history, the Google of the world was the old people. The old people were the carriers of the history, of the how to survive. Right now, we just, like, anytime we need to survive, we Google, right? But so how do we create these connections and preserve them? Like, there's real wisdom. Wisdom is not like, looking up stuff and knowing your family history. Wisdom is, how do you get through life? What's important? How do you, what does it take to live a satisfying life? And any older person will tell you this. They probably wouldn't trade they'd love to be 20, but they don't want their 20-year-old self because they've learned so much, right?
Sure,
what about you?
Absolutely.
Would you like?
What about me?
would you like to be 20 years old if you had to be that 20-year-old mind as well?
I'd want to bring along my experience, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, that's really what I'm so interested in, is this way of creating connections between the old and the young, and to really make it. What started this whole thing was you were talking about. Dan said on a Thanksgiving, how do you find the playlist for your elder? And so I made an app called. It's about 99% done. It's at memorydetective.com, and what I was trying to do is create something that would let young people, just by asking a series of questions, find all of the song that their grandma or their dad or somebody would want to find. And we're doing it, with Spotify, and
Cool.
It's a great way to spend some time with your grandma or your dad. And so I encourage anybody who's interested in going on a musical journey to go there and try and find some music for somebody that you love.
Yeah. That sounds like a great idea.
Fine.
How about you, Dan? I know that you've continued to grow the Music and Memory program. What kind of outreach do you have for people who are caring for an elder person at home?
Our website, musicandmemory.org. I mean, we have resources. They can download a PDF. How do you create a personalized playlist for a loved one at home? It's really pretty simple, yes, and it facilitates that communication. And here are the steps, and it's it's readily available. We talk about how people can volunteer. We talk about how they can, raise money, do an iPod drive, whatever. How people can help be an ambassador in their communities to help bring healthcare organizations on board. All of those things.
That's fantastic. I was just taking a look at our Dory, which is has a question from one of the Googlers. It says, can special needs kids be helped with personalized music? Do either of you have an opinion about that?
Well, I think it's a matter of what's going on now. I mean, special ed is all over the music already for kids who are on the spectrum.
In a similar way?
Well, not in remembering, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the number one, there are nursing homes that have kids that are chronically ill, and they live there. And the number one request that the people that run these homes have told me is the kids want their own devices, whatever it is. And you'd think they have them automatically. So yes, there's a lot of music. People come in, and there are the staff that plays a lot of music. But again, it's that having your own, where we have our own. I don't think we've gotten there yet. So the profession is very attentive to the young. So yes, special ed and classes, and the kids have their devices that are helping them communicate. Assistive communicative devices for people who can't communicate, maybe just on their tablet that just helps them speak. But a lot of that stuff that works for the young is kind of not even thought of for the elders. So we can apply that. And you just can't take the apps and such for people who are young and bring them over, because they're all, the subject matter is for kids.
Sure.
So it's, even though somebody might have dementia, they know if you're talking about kid stuff. You have to, a lot of stuff has to, the software, the content has to be sort of papered, whatever.
Yeah,
That's
repurposed or
the word. But in terms of content and the ability to help people who can't speak, people who have had a stroke, well, maybe they can do it with an app and help them speak even though they can't. Some people who can't speak, they can sing a song, and sometimes they'll sing the words. They'll sing a song and put the words to an action that they need to do, and it's to help them communicate.
Oh.
And so the stroke is really a very interesting kind of usage of music as well. But so there are a lot of opportunities. We just need to have more, I think, programming attention for elders. I think it's really, here we have this baby boomer generation, right, out there. And many of us now, we're going to bring our devices with us wherever we go. But there's this gap. If we look at the over 50, I mean, everything with all the streaming and all that discussion in the media and all the hype around streaming, well, I think we're forgetting, if somebody were to do a survey, and I found nobody that's captured the metrics on this, for people over 50, how many have access to their own music, whether they've downloaded the songs or they're streaming? And I think that number is going to be under 10%. And so you have this massive cohort of folks who have no music, no help, and everything's moving a long way past them. And we sort of have to whoa, slow down. So for the next 20 years or 30 years, it's going to be a group of people that are going to need assistance in getting what will help them.
That's
streaming is a wonderful solution, but I mean, most of the people with dementia live at home. But there's a lot that live in nursing homes, and a lot of the nursing homes don't have wireless. They have wireless in one room, or but in their rooms they don't have wireless. So the streaming solution just doesn't work that well.
Yeah.
But about people with special needs, I was shooting a kid with autism who was just all over the place. He was like an Energizer bunny, just running around the room, and then the woman came in. She started to play some music, and this kid just stopped, like the Energizer bunny just stopped. And yes, music can help kids with special needs, and it is being used a lot. There's something about we're the only species that actually does music. I mean, there's some argument. There's a lot of communication, a lot of sound in the natural world. But music, creative melodic thing, it might just be limited to human beings. And it's actually been integrated into our DNA. It's a primate will not respond to a beat, but a baby child will. So you're hitting this very deep part of our brains and our bodies. And special needs kids really respond to that. It's a tremendous tool.
Yeah, I'm sure we're all going to be really surprised at some of the work that is coming out of this and coming out of new efforts and research and so forth. I'd like, if anyone would like to ask a question here, we do have microphones, so please feel free to come up. And I just want to hit one more point with you, Dan. What are you focused on today? I mean, this has been a great program, and I know you're working to get it going on in other places, but are you thinking in new directions yet?
So we definitely want to bring in all this tablet technology, okay? Because it turns out that tablets can be used for people with dementia. Nobody thinks of that. Everybody knows Angry Birds, but they don't know that there are lots of Alzheimer's apps, either with those names, if you use that as a keyword, or things that don't have that as a keyword but are still good. Brain fitness, relaxation, just games, things that solitaire, blackjack. My father-in-law was always with the blackjack we played, or bowling. He was a bowler, but this is how we bowl now, right?
Yeah.
So all that stuff helps people reconnect. And again, it's done with someone else. You're not just saying, here's your tablet and see you later for a lot of people, but it becomes a point of connection. You know, so often we visit people in facilities or at home and like, well, what do we do? What do we say? We kind of shrink from it and can't wait to, you know, get out. But when you have something in common that you can communicate on, then it facilitates communication and relationship, and everybody feels better. Actually, when people get visited in any kind of healthcare residential facility, that response, the music, maybe you listen to it for an hour, and that calmness, even when the person leaves, just keeps going for the rest of the day.
Really?
And so I don't think it matters so much what the activity is, whether it's music or just being together and doing something with someone that is fun.
It's real stimulation.
It has a, you know, more than we'd expect kind of outcome.
That's great. So I see we have a question here.
Thanks for coming. I have a question about how do you personalize the music for everyone, for the demand, like for the person, because you say like, it's not, hey, here's the music and everybody gets that, right? So you buy one music and give it to everyone. But then now you have to personalize music to every person. So are you going to buy music for each person? But in general, that's kind of like a very specific logistics-based question. But if I take one thing I was wondering was if I get that DVD now and go home and give to my mother who is visiting from India, she would say, what kind of a culture puts old people into nursing homes in the first place?
Good point.
So like the broader question is like, are we really solving the broader problem here as well?
Great question.
So kind of like one very core logistic, how do you go around things? If I were to do that from the ground up, do I start buying songs and put into devices? And how do you know the person who can't remember, are they telling you like what type of music do they like?
So there are different parts to that. So number one, in terms of the technology and the approach, there are different ways to do that. In terms of identifying someone's music, if they're unable to communicate with you, now we have a challenge, right? So we'll go to their families or friends or even staff that has seen how they react when different live music comes in and try to build that list. And if there's no family around to ask, we'll have to do trial and error. And just, okay, they were born in this year, we'll give them music between when they were 10 or 20 or whatever, and see what sticks. And what do they respond to? What do they light up to? And slowly build the list that way. In India, you raise a great question. Many countries, it's take care of your family at home. But the concept is the same, and it's just a matter of applying it. So when I speak to people from India, it's really just, again, it's communicating through the sort of the systems that people will listen to. And in nursing homes, they already have a lot of music CDs. So we use the music CDs. We follow iTunes terms and conditions because it allows you to download once and sync to an unlimited number of devices. Windows Media Player doesn't have that same allowance in writing, if anybody's told me. So that's sort of the legal protection for the nursing homes, is that they follow the terms and conditions of iTunes.
Yeah. I'd just like to add something to that. You know, your question, you said, you know, what kind of culture puts their elders in nursing homes? That's a huge question, and one that really should be addressed. You know, and I think we have to change the way we find our safety, the way we live together. We're going to have to change that if we're going to you know, deal with global warming. We're gonna have to do that if we deal with the extinction of species, which we're doing tremendous damage to the world with. So, you know, Dan's doing a great job in nursing homes, but I'm kind of a problem solver, and I was like, well, what about all the people that live at home? You know, there's more people that live at home, and I was like, okay. How do you do that? How do you create the most bang for the buck? And I was like, well, if we could get the kids, if we could get you interested in finding your mother or your grandmother's music, find your grandmother's playlist before she gets dementia, you know, and let's store it online. That's why, you know, that's what I wanted to do. And, you know, how can we change the culture? How can we change the way people think about our elders? You know, well, we have to do that in education. So let's create a curriculum. You know, so we started the Alive Inside Foundation to develop curriculum to help young people rethink the way they look at aging, you know, and we have to rethink the way we look at aging. We have to rethink the way we connect to the natural world, our place in it. We have to rethink, you know, our idea of what safety is. Maybe even rethink work. I mean, we're maybe 50 years from robots replacing manual labor, from AI replacing. I mean, I heard the other day that you guys, with that Google, that Go program, you know, you did something that no one thought would happen for another 10 years. They just did apparently they just came out with a AI call center program that will put 250 million people out of work worldwide. So, you know, how are we going to deal with that? We're going to have to shift massively, you know. And I personally feel that music is like one of those things that we can hold on to. You know, it's one of the things that we'll argue about God, we'll argue about philosophy, but we won't argue about the way music affects us. It's a commonality, it's deep in our emotional system, it tells us that we're really all the same, it's very emotional, and so, you know, I'm very interested in those questions you raised, and they're very great questions. Thank you for bringing them up.
Thank you, and thank you both for coming to talks at Google today. You both are men with missions, and you're going out and doing great work in the world, and we salute you.
Well, thanks for having us. It's great.
Thank you for having us. You know, I didn't mention aliveinside.org.
Oh, right.
That's the name of our foundation, if anybody wants to help. We also developed a pair of headphones for people with dementia at home that is really, really cheap.
Good.
Because there's so many poor people out there who are, you know, and so we wanted to create something that would be really, really cheap, so you could give it away.
So kind of the DIY maker modality there.
Right.
It's like, get the headphones, do this, you're done.
Do it
That's
yourself.
great.
So when people see the film and they want to help, so the Alive Inside Foundation is the filmmaker.
Yeah.
Michael did a fantastic job on the film. Music and Memory, you know, the film was about music and memory and our implementation all over the country, and we're looking for the public to join us at musicandmemory.org.
That's great.
Doing a
Thank
great
you so much, and thank you all for attending.
job.